everyone. Hey, good morning. You are here on the front live leadership lessons from the front on a Wednesday morning. It's a special time. What I like to do is sometimes I'm meeting with guests at different times and such. And so this is a special edition of the front. I'm going to be playing this right now this morning. If you're watching live, thank you so much. If you're tuning in later, we really appreciate you. Do me a favor, make sure you like the show. I'm going to tell you at the beginning, hit the share button because it's so important we get the word out. We get that excitement out. We teach other leaders. We grow other people. That's the whole methodology behind the program. Do me a favor also, if you would, check out leadtheteam.net for free sales training, motivational content, and leadership tips. And tune into the YouTube channel at leadtheteam.tv. Hit that subscribe button there. So today I have got a very special guest with me. I've got Mr. David Villa, CEO of IPD, and we're going to get together with him right after this.
Thanks for tuning in to Lead the Teams, the front.
Yes, and we are live again. My name is Mike Phillips. I will be your host. Right over here on my left is Mr. David Villa. David, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing wonderful, Mike. Doing wonderful, man. Excited about our conversation, Mike.
I am too. Thank you so much for taking the time to a time out of your day. I know you're just back to back. You've got some exciting people in your office and a ton of exciting stuff going on over there. I tune into you. I'm certainly a fan and have learned a lot from you over the years. So I'm really honored to have you as a guest on the show. So if you would, do me a favor and just share with the audience, maybe 1 or 2, 3 minutes, kind of who is David Villa, a little bit of your business background, kind of who are you and what you do, and go ahead and jump in right there.
First, man, thank you for having me, brother. It's definitely Absolutely. An honor. And, we've engaged on social media for a while, and we haven't had the opportunity to meet in person. I look forward to that, man. So thank you so much. Happy Thanksgiving. Man, who am I, man? You know, that's a very unique question because I think it changes every day in some capacity with what I do. But who I'm a believer. I'm a husband. I'm a father. Then I'm a CEO, a business owner, an entrepreneur. And but man, I just love people. I love people. I think that I'm called to people. I'm called to help people. And here's the good news about that, man. Anything and everything that you desire to do, if it's going to be monetized, I believe that it's attached to people because people are the gatekeepers of money. And so that's what I do, man. I just help people. I love people. My heart is to see people go from where they thought they never could to where they can. And so, man, I just that's kind of a little bit of background of who I am. I'm a business owner. I'm an investor. I do a lot of different types of things. But when it comes down to it, man, I love motivating and leading people.
I would agree. You're definitely well. From what I know of you, like I said, like you said, you and I have been connected on social media for quite some time, and certainly you've had an impact on me as a person. The things that you do, the things that you share, the content that you bring, and I think it's just fantastic. And here's one of the things I really, for me, I love about you is you are someone from the outside. You are fearless when it comes to business. When it comes to bringing your faith into your business, that's okay. That's a part of who you are. And I really respect that about you, David. I think it's awesome. So let me ask you, when we're getting into a live leadership lesson, and you are a business owner, you're impacting people within your business, what would you say are some of the most important decisions that you make on a day-to-day basis as a leader within your organization? Because I know you're about empowering people too, but you, David Villa, what are some of the most important decisions that you make on a day-to-day basis?
Absolutely. And kind of one thing, just because I'm sure there's going to be somebody that watches this that's not familiar with me.
Sure.
So just backing up a little bit, I think that the way we do things, someone will see me that does know me, maybe someone like you, if we meet, a lot of times someone will say, man, you're so transparent, your business, I've watched, it seems like your business operate on a daily basis because we're using Facebook a lot, what have you. And I think that it's not that I set out to do that. Maybe we're more deliberate with that today, Mike. But the reason we do that is because I don't know any other way to lead. I think leadership by definition, John Maxwell says it's influence. Well, influence can't be in action and can't be activated without actually, interacting with people. So for instance, I'm only influencing when I'm leading by example. I'm in the middle of it. Somebody's watching me do it. Someone sees me do it and then believes they can do it, so to speak. So we do that throughout the day. So with that being said, that's kind of how we built our business. I really, really believe. Got a new book just releasing, a bite-sized book called Motivated. And it's about not only how I found my it, but how I help other people find theirs. And I genuinely believe that's a calling of mine. And so the reason I'm saying that is because the decisions I make on a regular basis, on a daily basis, involve the people that are here. It involves listening to them. We have a very strict, process and schedule here, or I should say a lot of things going on. So we always have projects going on and things happening. And I'm not that organized, to be honest with you. If I were by myself right now, I'd be, probably naked on an island sucking my thumb, right? I mean, in other words, curled up in a ball, in a fetal position, because I'm not that organized. I look that way because I've surrounded myself, which is a gifting of mine, surrounded myself with people who are. So when we have these visions and these ideas and these thoughts, although some of them come from me, some of them come from, team members. I was in a meeting with someone this morning in my marketing department, and we were talking about something regarding this the new book. And there was a tagline that we were kind of mulling over that I'd said, hey, I think this is the tagline. Well, one person didn't like it. I said, well, what's so-and-so think about it in there? Well, they were neutral. I said, what do you think about it? And then this person said, well, I like it when you say it, but I don't like it as a tagline. So one person didn't like it. One person was neutral. The other person said, I like it, but I don't like it written. I said, scrap it. In other words, my idea is not always the right idea. And so I guess what my point is that because we do these things together, my job throughout the day is kind of shepherding those, bringing people together, and just making sure that we're continuing to drive forward, and then leading by example, getting my hands dirty, doing the work with them, not just saying, hey, do this, but trying to make sure I'm out working or at least on par to work as hard as anybody in the office.
Yeah, no, that's great. So when you're talking about, when you said, hey, look, I have one person that likes it, one person that's neutral, one person that doesn't as a tagline, what makes you say immediately? So if one person disagrees with it, are you saying scrap it, or does it just cause you to think a second time? Why the immediate, hey, we scrap? And I respect that. I'm just curious what your thought is.
Yeah, I believe in, and I haven't always subscribed to this, but I believe it at the core now. A collaboration is imperative. So, for instance, I used to surround myself with people that were like me, and then we became very lopsided. And we shared the same strength. So we were heavy in strength, but we were very heavy in weakness as well. Because if you surround yourself with people like you, then most likely they have the giftings and also the weaknesses. So now I surround myself with people that aren't like me, but their strengths are where my weaknesses are, vice versa. So if one person says, I don't like it, I don't. First thing I say is why, because I don't want it to be driven by emotion or driven by, and all of us are prone to do this. Me, still, them, everyone is prone to, because I don't like it, because, that wasn't my idea. So if I say something to somebody and they say, I don't like that, the first thing I want to say is why. Tell me why, because it's not about it. If I'm going to write a book, it can't be about me. Like, for instance, if I'm in my car and my SUV, my holds 5 people, I'm in there with 5 people, I might be the only one that likes a certain genre of music. So if I'm by myself, we're going to listen to what I want. If I'm with 5 people, then, I may want to check because I like it doesn't mean they will. And so and everyone has different tastes. And so I guess my point is I'll say why. And I want them to qualify that answer. But but with this case, for instance, I know these 3 people. And so I said, what does so-and-so think? What do you think? And so I got the collaborative answers, and I realized that nobody loved it. So if I'm going to write a book, there's a good chance that the 3 personality types that weighed in are going to be people that purchase it or use it, and so not just a bunch of needs.
No, I think that's fantastic. So what other ways do you encourage more creative thinking? I think just by you asking why, I think that's one excellent way. What other ways are you encouraging? Because you seem to be very collaborative on camera. I've watched you broadcast your Monday morning sessions and certainly ADL and some of the other things that you do from outside. Behind the veil, what are some other things that you do to encourage more creative thinking in your organization, especially if they weren't your ideas and stuff that didn't, you're like, I don't know if I agree with that. How do you approach that?
It's still a work in progress. And there's a couple of people that are in my office now watching this who are probably nodding their head yes. But so it's number one, it's a work in progress. I'm not by any stretch of the imagination there yet. Because I think with any driver, with any type A personality or with any, front person, there is, and this is your show, right?
Right.
It has the front. With any front person, I think there's a tendency. I know there's a tendency to probably struggle in your natural self without the governing of maybe spiritual or governing of building habits to kind of govern that or to direct that. The control aspect is there. So I'm a control freak by nature. Again, if I were by myself, my way is the best way. And so and sometimes I'll bulldoze over and things of that nature, which is not a good thing. Sometimes it is. So, one of the things I do is try to keep that in check, and I ask a lot of questions. So if I sense that because I'm doing it, then I'll usually see that in maybe the eyes of people I'm around. I'll say, look, so talk to me, tell me, and a lot of times pulling that out of them, making that environment where even if it doesn't seem that way, ultimately, if I'm passionate about it, doesn't mean I don't want to hear your take on it. So I got to pull that out and maybe create in a place where I insist on you telling me the truth. I'm not going to get offended by it. I may disagree, and I may throw a temper tantrum. I may get mad that you don't agree with me in some ways because there's some ideas that I'm just going to hold on to, and they're like, I'm right. And it doesn't mean. Here, let me tell you, the book that changed my life on this. Mm-hmm. And again, it didn't change my tendencies. It changed my life because I try to apply it. Besides the Bible, is a book by Patrick Lencioni called "The 5 Temptations of a CEO." And I have it right behind me, but it's a book of a fable. It's written in a fable sense. It's a story, and it's 5 temptations of a CEO. And I won't get into them except for one, and that is the one temptation. This is a temptation, so it's viewed as a negative. It's viewed as a negative on to a CEO. It is that your desire for harmony in your leadership team. So that's a temptation. That's a negative. So, for instance, if I'm in my leadership team, I desire harmony so bad that I will squash out the ideas, when the reality is the right way to do it is to disagree, to literally be okay with, in my leadership team, inside of a room, to have even some knockdown dragouts. Look, get aggravated at each other, which we do. And then, look, maybe even before you get used to it, some people might get offended in love, and then take every advice, every opinion, and then realize that there is a decision at the end, though. The decision at the end has to be made. Someone's got to make that decision. Then we walk out agreeing to disagree. And all that's not easy, but that's some of the things I've, that I've tried to put into practice.
No, that's, I think, absolutely fantastic. I find myself, as I'm listening to people in the show, and if anyone hasn't seen, I've said this behind the scenes, my ulterior motive of doing the show is I get to learn from just amazing different perspectives from people like you. And so as I'm listening, one of the things, going back just a moment, that you shared, and you said, hey, look, and you're talking about the desire for harmony. I'll tell you, in my organization, that's something that is a struggle. And I ask people for their input, and I'll say, hey, I genuinely want to know this. I had one of the young ladies who works for me just last week that she says, well, when you were talking about this, it was a little bit harsh. It might have been a little bit harsh. But nobody says that to me in the moment. I want them to say it to me in the moment, but they won't say it to me in the moment. They might say it after the fact. How do you get, what is a tactic maybe that you use? Because you said, I go after it until they'll tell you the truth, like in that room, in that strategy session, in that moment. What's a strategy that you use to get them to be just absolutely honest, straightforward in the moment, man?
Well, it's a huge work in progress, because it doesn't, no matter what, there are times when that doesn't happen. And there are times where, like you you said, somebody may even feel like that you're bulldozing it. And so and those moments are amplified, because, and so it seems those moments are amplified. People remember those. So one of the ways you have to do is you have to be deliberate about it first. So I have to try to be cognizant of the fact that I do that. And I think another thing, it can't happen without familiarity. It can't happen without spending time. The phrase that familiarity breeds contempt, I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
I never have. Once I guess I never really knew until I heard it. But then when I really begin to get into leadership, I've never agreed with that phrase. I get it. I understand that when somebody's around you, they begin to see the holes in your leadership. But that's, to me, I have people that I'm very close to that for different reasons are mentors in my life, spiritual mentors, things of that nature. And I see their weaknesses. I can be around them for 30 minutes and see the humanity of them. But I don't view that as a negative. I view that as they're real. And so I think that familiarity doesn't breed contempt. I think that it exposes your strengths and weaknesses, but it also allows you to have true leadership. And I think that the key is, I think familiarity will breed contempt when your heart's not in the right place. When you put yourself on a pedestal and somebody views you and idolizes you, and they're around you, but they're viewing you that way rather than really seriously trying to better their life. And so I think it'd be select on that. But so I think spending time around them, because I don't think that can really happen without being deliberate on our end.
Sure.
On their end, it has to be the right people, but you have to spend time with them. Those people have to be around you for a lengthy enough period where they can get used to it. Because in the beginning, it's going to be a shock to anyone that comes into that system, because most people aren't exposed to that, where they came from, they're not exposed to that. So I found out it's rarer than you think, and but man, I tell you what, to me, it's the real way. It's the only way to gain significant impact through people. I've often said this, like, if your vision's got to be big, right? If you're a visionary,
right,
you've got a big vision.
Absolutely.
If you have a big vision, Matt, if you close your eyes, or if you drove home today and you thought about the things that you think about, you begin to just think about them. Begin to think about it. Wow, man, I want to do this, I want to do that. And all of a sudden, if that's big, then it requires people. If you think about that, people have to be involved.
Right.
Because if no one's involved, it's small. But if it's big, people are involved. Anywhere there's people involved, then you have to also look at their dreams and their desires and their passions and their its, because they're going to do it because they're told so. They're going to do it because they want to do it. And so those are all secrets and keys.
And I agree with all that too. And then especially right now, I think there's when you're talking about the familiarity, I think there's a false sense of familiarity with as much social media, online interaction, and there's not that real connection. I think there's a lot of value in really being on that level and connecting with somebody in person. I think there's a lot of value still, for lack of a better term, when you have that real one-on-one body language. Sometimes, people can fake it, certainly behind social media, behind a computer, with your words, all of those things. I think that familiarity and that real life connection is very, very valuable. Hey, I want to ask, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I'm just going to say about that. I think that I think I agree with you, wholeheartedly agree with you. Unfortunately, there's a lot of that out there, and you can't stop that. I view this at a surface level, and it goes right along with the book. The book has been in my heart for the last few months. I spoke on it at Hustle and Grind. Motivated, it has it in it. But the reality is, there's three phases, really quick, and this is I think this helps define that to me. Motivation is what you see on social media. If you don't know that person, really, until now, we're engaging more. So now we're moving. But really, the only thing I could provide to someone that doesn't know me is motivation. So then when you begin to motivate somebody to the place where they take action and they begin to apply that, even if you don't know them, then I think that then you're inspiring. It moves from motivation to inspiration, because motivation is somebody hearing it. Inspiration is someone to apply it. But then for me to really impact someone's life, I have to influence it. And influence, and it costs something. Influence is a smaller circle, and it's kind of like, it's kind of like Christ having the 70, the 12, and the 3. He's got the 70 that he impacted that you never really heard about. Then you got the 12 that you hear about a lot. Then you got the 3 that he pulled aside and took special places. He influenced their lives. And so I think that, unfortunately, there's a lot of people that you need to probably stick to motivation with. Hey, let them motivate you. If they motivate you, But if you start spending time around them, they probably don't have much to influence you with. And it is what it is. But
I find myself too on the show. I'm often going, "Oh my gosh, yeah, I agree with you." Preach, David. Yeah, I love it, man. Hey, as I know we're kind of coming to the tail end, and certainly with respect for your time, I do have one question I want to ask. There's actually 2. I'm going to try and squeeze them in here. One, tactically, what do you, David Villa, view as, if you could give me like 3 key characteristics, just written, look, hey, here's the 3 characteristics I look for when I'm hiring or talking to, like when you're engaging with another leader, when you're hiring another leader within your organization, what are 3 characteristics that you look for? Yeah, I know that's a shift gears.
No, I think, so I don't hire typically, I don't hire leadership from without. I usually promote from within on leadership.
Okay.
So either way, I mean, I have, and I'm not saying I wouldn't. It's just got to be, but it is somebody definitely that I'm probably familiar with to some degree.
Sure.
So that question, I'll just kind of pose it from that standpoint. I look for someone who's a servant, someone who's already doing the position before they get the position, and because I think leaders lead. One of my favorite thoughts for leadership is a leader without a follower is just taking a walk. They're not.
I love it.
They don't have anybody following them. So I think that leadership, people are already following your lead, and so I look for that servant heart. They're not out jockeying for position because there may not be one available or to their knowledge. So they're serving. I think that one of the things in leadership, one of the characteristics that I would always look for, and this is in a lot of hires, and probably every hire that I would make, even though I'm not directly interacting with half the hires here at the company, I have people that do it, but passion. Passion is contagious. My wife came up with this a few years ago, but passion is contagious, and so where it says passion is 2 syllables, I like to think of it, and she came up with this, full disclosure.
All right.
Pass it on. PASSIT-ON. Pass it on. It's contagious. And so I look for passion, because when someone's passionate, then about their life and about and about what they're doing, then they're going to be passionate, probably with anything that they really put themselves into. So I think serving, passion. And then I think that one of these things, and it's probably hard to if you're hiring from without, maybe to
Sure.
see this, but if you're hiring from within, I think persistence. I think someone that has the tenacity or the persistence that failure doesn't stop them. Maybe you can kind of link that in with attitude. That kind of all links in together, because it's how they react. Everyone fails. It's how they react. Do they get back up? Do they how is their attitude when they fail? When they have a bad day, how is their next day? Do they let it roll off their back? And it doesn't mean it doesn't bother them, but I look at the attitude and persistence and tenacity. I look at those things that they're connected. And I think that's a big attribute for leadership, because if you, especially in leadership, when you start becoming responsible for other people, not just yourself, you're going to experience failure at a multiplied level. When you're leading a team or people, now all of a sudden you don't have just your failure is attached to multiple failures. And when you have 8 cylinders and only 5 of them are shooting, you got 3 over here. You want just all 8 to operate at one time. It doesn't really happen. I think that tenacity, that attitude, that persistence, that ability to keep going is a key too for leadership.
I think that's strong. Failure is fuel, right? Especially for some leaders, failure's got to be fuel. So, and again, I know that as we come to a tail end here, do me a favor. What is the best way? First off, you have any final thoughts? Anything else you want to add to wrap it here at the very end?
Well, if I can I'll just give you some encouragement, man. I love what you're doing, and keep impacting people, because it's evident what you're doing is for people, is for those that you serve. And I just want to encourage you, man, just to keep putting it out there, keep putting that content. I think that you have a lot to say, and I think that that's the key, the heart behind it. So if anybody's watching and desires to write a book or begin to speak and do things, I would encourage them to start where you are, because sometimes we look at the audience and we say, man, I want to speak to the masses, but I only have two in front of me that are these two that are in front of me in my chairs in my office. Speak to them first, so because I believe that that's the way it has to start. And I remember the days when I only had the one person to speak to in the chair, but in my visions and dreams I was speaking to thousands. Today I'm speaking to thousands, and now I see stadiums, where I see the world. And so I would just encourage people just to not quit.
I agree with you. I think one of my favorite statements that you just said is, for whoever it is, whoever's watching, whether it's you, whether it's me, whether it's that one person that's out there that says, hey, I'm tuning into this video right now, start where you are. Because the key is, if you start and you get rolling. So David, thank you so much for taking your time and sharing your insight and your wisdom with people today. What's the best way for people to reach out and communicate with you, to reach out and contact you if they're interested?
Absolutely. The best way to reach out would probably be on Facebook. And of course they can call into our offices. I mean, a lot of people don't really know, because we only show certain parts of our office, but we have 50 people that work here in our company in Tampa. So we have a lot of people that you can reach out to. We're available all the time. And so our office's number is 813-630-5888. As far as me on Facebook, just follow me on Facebook. The messages on Facebook, either I'm interacting directly, we have social media team, but I always, I'm heavily involved in that, and I always get the messages, but I'd love to connect. I get, Mike, every single day, multiple times a day, people that message for all different types of things, and I'm available. I don't ever want that. If I grow, the one thing I don't ever want to farm out is my ability to connect with somebody if they need to connect with me. That's the one thing that I always want to make room to, because I can't, that's what I want to do. I want to help people. So as much as possible, I'm available one-on-one, within, and so it may take a little bit of time to make that happen, but happens every day. So reach out, please. Let's talk, and I'd love to hear your story.
And I would absolutely edify what you're saying. David is, and I do know you have a team behind it. I also know, while you and I have connected, it's really not that long. Like I think I reached out to you a month or two ago, said, hey, you want to go on the show? And it's like, you're right there. You're available. I think you do practice what you preach, so to speak, right? You live what you say, man. I think it's awesome. So thank you very much for being on the show today. I appreciate you, David.
Hey, appreciate you, Mike. Thank you for having me, man.
Absolutely. All right. So for those of you that took the time to tune in, and do me another favor, now that you've got to see it, and every time I hear David speak, man, he spits fire. He's got so much wisdom and so much to share, and is just an absolutely amazing person. I'm telling you, if you don't follow him on Facebook, you should. You can look him up at David Villa. He's got a group of game changers. If you're somebody that is a game changer that's making a difference and you want to connect, I know that's I'm sure another way, and just an absolutely fantastic show. Do me a favor, if you did not already, hit that share button, because I would love to get the word out and get that wisdom out there. Also, just a quick reminder, I do this show every Wednesday and Sunday. Wednesdays, we're doing a live leadership lesson just like this with someone that is an outstanding leader in multiple different verticals, and I would love for you to tune in for that live. I also Sunday share the traditional front podcast, which includes, often that's more tactical, and there's sales training, there's personal growth training and motivation, and all kinds of other themes. So I'd love for you to tune in to those with me. You can check that out at leadtheteam.tv. And thank you so much for taking the time to tune in and join David and myself today. Hope you've gained a lot out of this. And I will tell you what, until we speak next, I hope you have an absolutely fantastic day, and have a happy Thanksgiving, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.